This will be known as the drinking through a fire hose edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. I really can't imagine what it's like today to wake up a Democrat. Well, yes, I can. Yes, I can. It's actually, I've experienced this before. In fact, I experienced it this weekend. Being a Democrat today is an awful lot like being a fan of Cleveland sports, both overall and this past Sunday, yesterday. When the Cavs were down just 40 at halftime against the Indiana Pacers, when the Guardians decided to pitch to the guy who had already homered and was the provider of the 1-0 lead that the Phillies had over the Guardians, to pitch to him with first base open in the 8th inning, and he homered again, thus inflicting yet another defeat. The drive, the fumble, red right 88, on and on and on. That's what it's like being a Democrat today. It's just exactly like being a Cleveland sports fan, where you feel like no matter what you do as a Democrat, no matter when you think you have Donald Trump cornered, he can't possibly get out this time, you end up like Charlie Brown, sprawled on the ground when Lucy pulls the football back. Because over the weekend and this morning, Donald Trump, I don't know, which order shall we go in? Let's start with this morning. Executive order at the White House. Now, yesterday, I was briefly checking my email, and I saw that Donald Trump had just posted on Truth Social that he was about to issue the most consequential executive order of his presidency, of either one. Trump's a master of the overstatement. I've said many times you have to take Trump seriously, but you can't take him literally. So he's a bombastic, braggadocious individual. And he said this would be the most consequential executive order in our country's history. Well, he's had some pretty consequential ones just in this first 110-ish days, right? I mean, outlawing DEI, establishing just two sexes, no more boys in women's sports, although there's woke states that keep fighting it, drill baby drill, closing the border, on and on and on. He's not exactly been like Joe Biden on a weekend. Like Joe Biden viewed Friday from 1 p.m. to Monday at like 3 p.m. as his weekend, right? He was on vacation over 500 days as president. Trump's weekend, if you include like the Biden schedule, this is just a few things that have happened. So this morning, Trump makes good on his announcement by announcing dramatic cuts in pharmaceutical prices for Americans. In the past, American drug companies have innovated, come up with new drugs. You see them advertised all the time on TV, Ozempic. Now you don't have to modify your dietary habits. You can just eat like a pig and take a shot and lose weight. You don't even have to work out. You know, you got Jardiance, you got Ozempic, you got way back in the day, Viagra and all this stuff that American pharmaceutical companies innovated. You would think because they're based here, we would pay less, right? Country of origin. No, we always paid more, and not just a little more, a lot more. We paid like 400% more than other companies. That ends today. We'll go through it. There's just too much. I said drinking through a fire hose. We'll get to that. We'll get to all that. We'll have all the salient quotes as Trump. Oh, by the way, Trump this morning, while Biden would still be sleeping and maybe in his jammies, eating Jell-O for breakfast, Trump has already answered questions for more than an hour about this new executive order. Now he's on his way. Now he's on his way to the Middle East to get that whole mess straightened out. He's like, wait, what about Russia and Ukraine? What about that? Oh, over the weekend, Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine, Vladimir Putin, Russia, at America's urging, have agreed to meet in person. They hate each other. They're going to meet in person. Okay, that's a pretty big weekend for any other president. Wait, we're not done. India and Pakistan said to be on the verge of a nuclear war. They both have nukes, lots of nukes. Only China, Russia, U.S., maybe one, maybe two other countries have more nukes than India and Pakistan. Trump administration over the weekend brokered a peace agreement between India and Pakistan. Donald Trump dangled trade over their heads, and they're like, oh, wow, it'd be tough surviving in India and Pakistan without trade with the U.S. So we got that deal done, okay? Later today, Hamas says it will release American hostage Edan Alexander, the last surviving American citizen hostage in the dungeon of Hamas tunnels. So Edan Alexander, Hamas says it will release him today because it turns out Hamas doesn't like having a U.S. president who greenlights Israel going in and turning the place into the world's largest outdoor sandbox. Oh, wait, just like an infomercial. Wait, there's more. Scott Bessent, Jameson Greer, and other U.S. trade representatives spent the weekend in Geneva, Switzerland, with Chinese trade representatives. And early this morning, the U.S. and China announced an agreement to significantly reduce tariffs for the next 90 days while continuing to negotiate, making the reduction in tariffs permanent. So all that stuff about recession, unemployment spiking, stagflation, all those things we had to have our friend Josh Pick of Aptus Wealth Management define for us every week. What does this mean? What does that mean? We'll talk to Josh at 12:35 today on our Money Monday segment to see what Josh thinks about this trade agreement and about the pharmaceutical deal, because both of those pharmaceutical companies are a big part of investing. U.S.-China trade relations, big part of international trade, supply chains, and all that. We'll talk to Josh at 12:35 about all that. So, oh yeah, one other thing. Gas prices are down a dime per gallon in Columbus. Gas prices are coming down as promised by Donald Trump. So what must it be like today to be a Democrat? You are, they're very upset, by the way, on the Democratic side of the aisle today. Are they upset that gas prices are coming down? Are they upset about pharmaceutical prices coming down? Well, yeah, of course they are. Of course they're upset about this because Donald Trump did it, and they're against everything Donald Trump did. You could list, parties have platforms like this is what we stand for, this is what we're going to do when we take power. Trump said he's going to close the border. Done. Biden couldn't do it. In fact, he did the exact opposite in 4 years. We don't even talk about the border anymore. We don't even talk about it. It was all we talked about when Biden was president because we kept having daily reminders, videos. Here's another big pack of migrants coming across the border. Here we are in Eagle Pass, Texas. Here we are in Yuma, Arizona. Here we are in Baja, California. Here they are sneaking through the wall, going around the wall. Here are the coyotes bringing them across. Here is 40 people found dead in the back of a semi, which didn't have any air conditioning, and they fried to death. It's all we ever talked about. Made Bill Maloogian of Fox a star. Oh, here's the Biden administration suing Texas for closing its own border. How dare you, Greg Abbott? That's all we talked about under Biden. Now we don't even think about it. It's closed now. It's all closed. So, and then we've got Trump slapping on the tariffs and all the Democrats braying at the moon about tariffs. Oh, the end of the Republicans. Oh, economic devastation. Prices are heating. Yeah, well, where do you got to go to that on that now? Nowhere. Turns out China doesn't like having its ports full of ships with goods on them that face tariffs in excess of 100%. So now the United States agreed to drop the tariffs on Chinese goods to 30%, from 145 to 30. So we're going to be tariffing China's goods 30%. China agreed to drop its tariffs on our goods from 125 to 10%. So that sounds like we're going to tariff them 3 times as much as they're going to tariff us. That is exactly right. Did Donald Trump win? He won. He won on this. Oh, he couldn't possibly do it. This is a disaster. Even the people who back him, like Stephen Moore and me and others, Ben Shapiro and others. What is he doing with the tariffs? Well, he said he would use it as leverage. He would win, and he did win. Okay? Dollar's up. Stocks are up. Edon Alexander is coming home. Zelensky and Putin are talking. Pakistan and India agree not to lob a nuke at each other. Meanwhile, Democrats trying to storm an ICE facility, and they're very upset that the people who stormed it got arrested.
Shower tonight, low 63. And then clouds, a shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 75. Mostly cloudy on Wednesday with a shower and thunderstorm in the area. The high once again at 75. We'll see breaks of sunshine, humid day Thursday, the high of 84. A thunderstorm for the morning on Friday, and partly sunny and warm, the high Friday at 84. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
But wait, there's more. That's probably the best way to describe all the delicious offerings from Dad's Coney's and Wraps. Oh, sure, Dad still makes the best Coney's in the city, but the menu has so much more. There's the loose beef sandwich, their famous burrito wraps, Dad's cheeseburger and son of cheeseburger, fish and chicken sandwiches, even a veggie dog. But wait, there is more. You just have to stop by for lunch or dinner. Dad's Coney's and Wraps in the Graceland Shopping Center. Order online at dadsconeysandwraps.com. And as they like to say, we're not fast food. We are fresh food made as fast as we can. You made it through another nasty Ohio winter. But let's be honest, there's something in your home that will kind of struggle through it. Yeah, it's your furnace. But the good news is you can get a jump on next year's winter now by getting a Goodman high-efficiency furnace from Temperature Pro for $2,000 from our Discount Shopping Club. The regular price is $4,000. Temperature Pro is the leader in commercial and residential HVAC services. Get all the details at 989theanswer.com or by calling RMAT at 614-216-5049.
While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments, along with lectures, celebrity interviews, his famous Torah teachings, and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com. Pragertopia.com.
This week in the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt, President Trump on the priority of tax cut.
We're going for the biggest tax cut in history. That's why we hope the Republicans get together and sign it, because Democrats will never do anything.
And his thoughts on the future for our nation.
We want to make this the golden age. It's a beautiful term when you think about it.
Join us for our program. Sign up for our podcast at townhallreview.com.
The Town Hall Review airs at various times throughout the weekend. Find the time that's convenient for you in the program guide at 989theanswer.com.
We were discussing vacation plans in our family on a beautiful Mother's Day. We are not cruise people, unfortunately. My wife and daughters get seasick, but if you're a cruise person, here's a vacation idea you should consider. August 16th to the 23rd, the Patriots Alaska Cruise. Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, 2 regular guys. Oh, I know they're esteemed Salem radio hosts, but they're regular guys. They're very approachable guys, as you know, if you went to either or both of the events that we've staged here in Central Ohio with Larry Elder and Mike Gallagher. They will be your hosts on the Patriots Alaska Cruise, cruising on Holland America throughout Alaska, leaving from Seattle, Washington on August the 16th. You'll go to British Columbia, Ketchikan, Sitka, Juneau, Puget Sound. It'll be a luxurious trip. It'll be a great trip. You can find out more about it and join it by going to travelwithsalem.com. That is travelwithsalem.com. So many of you have medicines that you take every single day, and it can be a real problem for you if you are required to take that medicine, but it's not covered by insurance, or even if it is covered by insurance, it's outrageously expensive. U.S. citizens pay 3 times on average higher drug prices than 33 other countries in the world, developed countries in the world. We pay on average about $2.78 for a prescription that other countries in the world will pay $1 for. It's almost 3 times as much. That's crazy, crazy. So here, Donald Trump this morning takes care of it with the stroke of a pen. He is now here in this soundbite from the White House this morning describing what his executive order will get done.
Drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries. To accelerate these price restrictions and reductions, my administration will also cut out the middlemen. We're going to totally cut out the famous middlemen. Nobody knows who they are, middlemen. I've been hearing the term for 25 years, middlemen. I don't know who they are, but they're rich. That I can tell you. We're going to cut out the middlemen and facilitate the direct sale of drugs at the most favored nation price directly to the American citizen.
Okay, so you might say, well, this is price controls. This is price fixing, and the government shouldn't have any part in that. And if it were that, I would say you're right. But these drug companies are charging foreign countries a lot less than they're charging us. Now, I will stipulate that there might be a reason why U.S. drug companies could charge a little more here than they do in other countries, because they get research and development, or maybe there's tax issues involved here, regulations here that they don't have in other countries. But 3 times as much? No, they're just charging it because they can get it. This is the one thing that I have discovered by walking down the path that many of you have walked, which is cancer treatment. And that is that you get a bill from the hospital and you look at it and it just knocks your eyeballs out, right? And then all you really have to do is call. And now we are not insured. My family's not insured. Now you may go, well, you had a brain tumor, you had a brain cancer, you weren't insured. I mean, you got to be in debt up to your eyeballs. Well, if you pay retail, yeah, but you don't have to pay retail. In fact, hospitals, when they find out you're uninsured, you know what happens when they find out you're uninsured? They don't kick you away and go, oh, sorry, good luck with that golf ball sized tumor in your head. No. They immediately cut your bill by 40%. Immediately. Oh, okay, well, 40%. And then they ask you about your income. And we have a Christian health share ministry, which I would highly recommend to everyone. Okay? Unchain yourself from big medical insurance companies, because it is a scam. I know when you lose your job, you're very afraid, and you look at Cobra and you think, I'll never be able to afford that. There are other options out there. I'm not doing a commercial for any particular one, although if you get a hold of me, I'll tell you which one we have, and they've been fantastic. But the point of the matter is, when my wife told me, they're like, well, they offered to cut our bill like 40% right off the top because we're not insured. And I'm like, what? And I thought the same thing you thought, which is, well, they're overcharging everyone so that they can account for the people who cannot pay. And drug companies are probably doing the same thing. All right, so Trump had with him at the White House today all of his health team, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He is the head of Health and Human Services. Here is what RFK had to say about what Donald Trump's latest executive order will accomplish.
There's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies.
Does that seem right? We have 4.2% of the world's population. We pay 75%. I'm not sure we're obese and we're lazy and we're, overly medicated and all that. Our food supply is terrible and all that. But that's a big chasm. 4% of the population, 75% of the drug prices. Dr. Oz was there. Oz heads up one of the big health agencies as well. Here he is on how this will help everyday Americans.
Is the most powerful executive order on pharmacy pricing and healthcare ever in the history of our nation. And it's only happening because we have a president with the fortitude, the guts to stand up to the withering criticism and lobbying that's going to occur as soon as folks hear about the executive order. So on behalf of the child in Philadelphia who's got an autoimmune disease with a $1,000 a month drug, or the older woman in Los Angeles who's on a blood thinner who can't afford her copay, I want to thank President Trump. God bless you for having the guts to take on this industry. Thank you, sir.
Now, this is what the Democrats, and I don't know what does Bernie Sanders do today? Does he have to get off his private jet fighting the oligarchy? Because Trump takes a lot of money from pharmaceutical companies. They donate to everybody so that they feel like everybody owes them something. But Trump is like not beholden to, this is the beautiful thing about being a quote unquote lame duck president, being term limited, is that early in your administration, before the half-year point is up, you don't have to be enslaved to the people who donated to your campaign to get you elected. You can just say, no, we're going to do what's right by the American people. Now, here's Jay Bhattacharya, Stanford. He's the head of the NIH. He likes this too, for many reasons, some of which he'll articulate here.
For the same product between two countries, there's something deeply wrong. And what President Trump has done is a historic measure that should have been done a long time ago. What we're going to do is make sure that those prices become much closer to equal, like a competitive market you expect. Right now, what's happening is the American people are subsidizing in large fraction the research and development efforts for drug companies around the world by the higher prices that we pay.
So that ends. And good luck to Democrats finding a way to criticize it. But they will. You know they will.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Cluxton in Washington. The Trump administration is taking steps to lower the prices that we pay. With this new order, Europe will share the burden of that. For drug companies around the world by the higher price. The research and development efforts for drug companies around the world in large fraction. Right now, what's happening is the American people. With this new order, Europe will share the burden of that. Salem offer.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. Now, I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454.
You've seen him on Fox News, Newsmax, CNN, and the Salem News Channel, and townhall.com. He's Chris DeGaulle, and you can hear him weekday mornings 6 to 9 on your station for news, opinion, and passion. 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not an offer.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. Now, I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Zumo Play.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer, anywhere you go. The Answer's mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers. Tune in or iHeart.
Well, if you are looking to redo your flooring in your home, that's a great idea, but I would love for you to give me a chance to help you with that project, because by going to brucehooley.com and clicking on flooring, you will find a couple of things. Number one, that you can get the exact same products that you can find at any big box store. Oh, I know they're going to talk about selection. But yeah, truth is, everybody's products come from the same mills in Georgia, and we can get whatever you want. And better yet, we can get it at a lower price, because we don't have a fancy overhead. We don't have our vehicles that come with, all the fancy wrappings of the name of the business. We don't rent a store in a high rent location that's like $10,000, $20,000 a month. None of that. Also, we have our own installers. They don't. They bid their jobs out. How vigilant do you think those subcontractors are to get your job done right? Just a few of the reasons why it makes sense for you to go to brucehooley.com. And the other reason is because then we get to meet, we get to talk, we get to chat, we get to become friends. It's a win-win-win. All the way around, go to brucehooley.com and click flooring. So Democrats have campaigned forever. Bernie Sanders, people pay too high drug prices. Donald Trump took care of that this morning with an executive order. Also, Democrats have prattled on and on and on and on about tariffs, and I'll admit I was worried about tariffs. I didn't like the whipsawing of the stock market. Stock market's up like over 1,000 points today, by the way. Why is that? Is that just more whipsawing and tomorrow there'll be a headline, take it back? No. Yesterday, it was like midnight Switzerland time, or Monday Switzerland, but Sunday here, or it doesn't really matter. What matters is China and the U.S. have agreed to dramatically restructure tariff policy. China will pay 30% on their imports to the U.S. We will pay 10% on our imports to China. Now, you can't trust China. They're going to keep trying to steal intellectual property. They're going to keep trying to, work us over as they have before. But here's Donald Trump at the White House this morning talking about this new trade deal with China.
That may be imposed on pharmaceuticals because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
That's important that we not give away the farm on like we relax. Okay, we got a deal. We don't have to worry about pharmaceuticals anymore because China could unleash another COVID anytime. We do need to reshore a lot of our pharmaceutical manufacturing. This will give us the time to do that. Hopefully we don't lose the urgency to do that. We do need to make our own steel because if we get into a war with China, I doubt very seriously they're going to give us steel. And we do need to continue to ramp up high-end chip making, semiconductors and the like, because China could try to do a blockade on Taiwan at any point in time. But this, in the interim, gives us a much better trade arrangement. Now, so Trump has the China trade deal that he could talk about. He announced this morning the cut in pharmaceutical prices to U.S. citizens, so we won't pay 3 times as much as countries around the world, developed countries around the world pay. What do you think was the topic that mainstream media wanted to badger him about when he threw it open for questions? It's not China. It was not the pharmaceutical executive order. It was not Zelensky and Putin agreeing to meet under pressure from the United States. It was not India and Pakistan agreeing not to escalate their tensions, thus taking nuclear war in the Middle East off the table. It was not the drop in gas prices around the country. It was not the return of Edon Alexander, the last American hostage who has now been freed and is on his way back to America. No, you know what they wanted to talk about? The appearance of impropriety in Qatar offering Trump a $400 million airplane because Trump has become frustrated with Boeing and the pace at which Boeing is producing a new Air Force One. And remember, Trump refused to pay what Boeing said the plane would cost. So Qatar stepped in and said, we'll just give you a flying palace. And then after you're done being president, we'll just donate it to your presidential library. That's what they want to talk about. The appearance of impropriety. And Trump was like, China? Pakistan? India? Edon Alexander? Putin? Zelensky? Trade? No, you want to talk about whatever you can talk about to make me look bad. This is not a new phenomenon, of course. Donald Trump is off to the Middle East today. What do you think they wanted to talk about Friday at the White House? Friday afternoon press briefing, Caroline Leavitt. I'm talking about all that Trump's going to get accomplished. I'm going to talk about the talks in Geneva on Saturday between Scott Bessent, the trade secretary, and Chinese representatives that resulted in this trade deal. Did any of them even see? Because obviously this is their job to see what's on the horizon with pharmaceuticals and Trump. Did anyone talk about that? No. Here's the question. Here's the gotcha question Caroline Leavitt fielded Friday afternoon at the White House.
Do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there or any of the sites that are
not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not one, Butch White. And again, the American public reelected him back to the White House because they trust him to act in the best interest of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who is clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards.
They want to know if he's going to look at any Trump properties when he's in the Middle East, any golf courses, any big hotels. He's going over there on the American taxpayer dime. Did they ever ask, why is Hunter Biden going on a flight to China with Joe Biden when Joe Biden was vice president? Are any of them curious about the fact that the Obamas apparently have listed one of their many mansions for $39 million? How did Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, the most ungrateful, overrated person in America, how did they end up with one home valued at $39 million? Because she was talking about how expensive it was to live in the White House. Imagine which is paid for by the American taxpayer, by the way. She had explained. Remember last week she was complaining about the cost of grocery prices at the White House. You got to buy your own groceries. My daughters go with me on a trip to Bora Bora, to Aruba, someplace like that, where I'm doing something inconsequential that has nothing to do with America, but I'm flying on the First Lady's plane. My daughters have to pay the coach airline fee to go there. Now they got a house for sale for $39 million. Now they want to know, is Trump meeting with anybody who's going to build a golf course in Abu Dhabi? Well, Disney's building in Abu Dhabi, and in Abu Dhabi they kill you for being gay. Maybe you ought to ask Disney about that and their objection to the don't say. No, they're not going to do that, okay? So this is how it works. This is how it will continue to work, and they're not going to uncover anything that Scott Bessent says here about why Trump had to negotiate a new trade deal with China, because the Biden administration wasn't enforcing the one that Trump negotiated the first time.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework.
I mean, that's why it was so easy to work out. Looking out over the lake in Geneva on Saturday, because they already had the framework in place. You wouldn't have known it because China wasn't abiding by it, and Joe Biden wasn't going to make them abide by it. Of course he wasn't, because China had the goods on his kid. I don't have any proof of that, but yeah, seems plausible to me. Here's Stephen Moore, advisor to Donald Trump in his first administration. Not a fan of tariffs, by the way. Stephen Moore saying there was another reason why China was so eager to come to the table.
It is a blockbuster. Look, if you look at those ports in China right now, the ports are filled with these cargo ships, hundreds and hundreds of them, with hundreds of billions of dollars of merchandise with nowhere to go. And so Trump is really put the squeeze on China, and it looks like his tactics are working.
Yes! It would be a tragedy if China had to not ship to the United States of America those cargo containers full of $29.99 above ground swimming pools from Temu, or those authentic imitation mink stoles from Shine for $7.99.
townhall.com. The Department of Health and Human Services has released a groundbreaking new report on the dangers of mixing gender ideology and medical practice for children and teens. The report was commissioned and it came out last Thursday. It's over 400 pages long. So the bottom line is this: the Trump White House ordered the inquiry into and the evaluation of available data on what's called pediatric gender dysphoria treatments. Most importantly, hormonal and medical treatments for children and teenagers. You understand what's at stake. From a Christian perspective, it turns out to be more important in moral terms than the report itself. I want to say this very consistent with the affirmation of creation order, what you might call just basic moral sanity. The report is just one more piece underlining what's been clear to so many who've been watching this closely. When it comes to the transgender issue, the basic battle is ideological, not medical. And for the Trump administration's recognition of that, we should be grateful.
As you know, their life provides things personalized and great. That's your problem, because you can't buy my phone. Why does not stop us in the free? You break things, you get better next week. We have Brad, who just goes to provide us these things. Well, what about you? I don't hear you. Like is all like that. Anti-science,
Okay, thank you.
Also, for a limited time, when you order over $100, you will receive $100 off in free digital gifts. Go to mypillow.com. Bruce to get easy revenge fees that unheard of, saving mypillow.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I've been thinking, why does it feel like losing weight is harder than ever before? With mixed messages, fad diets, the quick fix injections, even magic coffee. I mean, it's overwhelming. Most people are exhausted trying to fight a battle they cannot win. If you feel this way, trust me, you're not alone. I used to feel this way too. I tell you, it's not your fault. Your body is working against you, and the longer you wait, the harder. Do what I have. I called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition 3 years ago. I lost 53 pounds. I feel terrific, and I've kept the weight off. Make the phone call that can change your life the way it has changed mine. They won't let you fail. Call 855-696-2020. That's 855-696-2020 to schedule your consultation. The first 11 callers who mentioned the word healthy will get 2 free weeks to their weight loss package. Call now, 855-696-2020. Mention the keyword healthy to get 2 free weeks. Or visit them at myphdweightloss.com.
And when it came, it said something required.
I ordered these batteries for my digital camera, but the batteries weren't included, so I had to draw all of our family members. I ordered a 60-inch TV from Shady Deal. They actually measured. You can't sit further than 60 inches away. You're savvy. More call that.
Test your advertising IQ. Go to BEandTruth.org.
Saturday's a beautiful day, and I was out mowing the plantation. Finally got the pasture mowed. Looks beautiful, and you know what? I'm very blessed that at my age I'm not in any pain. I don't have arthritis pain, but if you do, I have good news for you. QC Kinetics stands ready to help you get out of pain. Your body's equipped to heal itself, but your body has some limitations. And you wouldn't expect a broken leg to heal on its own. No, of course not. But when you are lacking cartilage in a joint, when you've had an operation, or you just have, a joint that won't cooperate, knee, hip, back, elbow. Sometimes you're told you're bone on bone, you're going to need surgery, you're going to need lots of pain meds to take away the pain, but then you can't sleep at night, or you're jittery or whatever. QC Kinetics, advanced biologic treatment. It's really very cool, and they can explain it to you, and they will, because you get a free, no obligation consultation from them. Gahanna, Dublin, Grove City, Canal, Winchester. Call them and set up your consultation. Get out of pain. It's needless for you to be in pain. And you can do it without surgery to correct it, perhaps at QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. I told you, being a Democrat is like being a Cleveland sports fan. No matter what happens, the football gets yanked out from under you. No matter what happens, Stephen Vogt will pitch to a power hitter with first base open. And the guy at the plate's run, meaning absolutely nothing in the game. All that matters is getting him out. But no, let's pitch to Kyle Schwarber again and see if he can hit a second tape measure home run. And guess what? He can, just like Giancarlo Stanton did in the playoffs last year. And let's see if the Cavs can even up their series in Indianapolis. Nope, they're down by just 40 at halftime. That's how Democrats feel today. Donald Trump flying off to the Middle East to do who knows what next. He's got Putin and Zelensky sitting down, talk to each other. He's got a trade deal with China in place. He announced a big cut in prescription drug prices this morning. And I told you Democrats would hate whatever he did because, Orange Man bad. So when the word leaked out over the weekend that, Saturday, China, which originally Democrats were saying, oh, never sit down with us. Why would they sit down with us? They will not deal. When word leaked out Sunday that China and the U.S. had one very pleasant meeting in Geneva, and had come to an agreement where China will pay 30% on imports to the U.S. and we will pay 10% on imports to China. You might have thought that Democrats would jump up and down for joy. Are you new here? They hate everything Trump does. Here's Amy Klobuchar. She's rumored to be a Democratic presidential candidate. So she's got to be on brand. She's got to hate it.
Approaching this all upside down. Targeted tariffs, yes, but they should be working within trade agreements like the Canada-Mexico trade agreement with the U.S. to strengthen that instead of these across-the-board tariff taxes on all Americans.
Yeah, except that actually was a negotiating tactic, and we scared China into thinking you'd have to keep all their own crap on those cargo ships. And so now they've caved, although we won't say they caved because that would be bad for the collegiality of the whole process. Here's Rahm Emanuel, one of Barack Obama's henchmen, belly aching about tariffs as well.
You cannot treat everything as a nail, and all you have is one hammer. And there's no subtlety, strategy, or any effort by this administration to treat.
Well, spoken like a nail, for whom Donald Trump is the hammer. That's what I will say about that. Here's Trump on the trade deal with China, how it's worked before and how it will work now.
We opened up our country to China. They have very few restrictions. And they didn't open their country to us. Never made sense to me. It's not fair. And they've agreed to open China, fully open China. And I think it's going to be fantastic for China. I think it's going to be fantastic for us. And I think it's going to be great for unification and peace. China will also suspend and remove all of its non-monetary barriers. They've agreed to do that. Well, they're very numerous. But again, to me, the biggest thing that came out of that meeting is they've agreed. Now we have to get it papered, but they've agreed to open up China. It'll be great for everybody.
Yeah, it will be great for everybody if China, in fact, does it. Got to watch them like a hawk because they're not trustworthy. But who would you rather have on the case, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Would you rather have Marco Rubio or Antony Blinken? Yeah, I think I'd rather have Marco Rubio and Donald Trump as well. Now, here in Ohio, at this time Friday, we were waiting for the white smoke to come out of the Ohio Republican Party meeting, which they did behind closed doors, just like the Cardinals in the conclave in Rome, which resulted in the appointment of Pope Leo. Pretty much seems like Vivek Ramaswamy will have the support of the GOP as he presses toward becoming Mike DeWine's successor as governor in 2026. There was a big hullabaloo about, well, is it right for the Ohio Republican Party to come out a year in advance of the election, more than 18 months in advance of the election, and endorse somebody for governor? And Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel, who's had that job for a couple months now, that John Husted ascended to become senator from the state of Ohio because Ramaswamy announced his run for governor, and Donald Trump, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, and others immediately endorsed him. Husted was looking for a soft landing spot, and he found it in the U.S. Senate because J.D. Vance's seat was vacated when Vance became vice president. So DeWine did a solid for John Husted and named him to be the next senator from the state of Ohio, which thus meant that Husted would not be in place to run for governor and succeed DeWine, which greatly troubled Mike DeWine because Mike DeWine wants his legacy to continue, although I don't know why, because Mike DeWine's legacy as Ohio's governor is, to say the least, checkered. He was a COVID fraidy cat and allowed the so far only announced Democratic candidate for governor in 2026, Amy Acton, to dictate policy and keep Ohioans locked up at home and masked up everywhere during the pandemic. And then, of course, Mike DeWine showing that he really does care about those grandkids that he's constantly trotting out to eat Fran's cookies and soup. Mike DeWine refused to safeguard the granddaughters he has, and your daughters and my daughters, by vetoing the SAFE Act in the state of Ohio. He wanted to continue with the puberty blockers and continue with the boys in the girls' locker room and the men in women's locker rooms. And thankfully, the supermajority in the Ohio House and Senate overrode his very small-minded veto. So that is Mike DeWine's legacy. And he appointed Jim Tressel to succeed Husted as lieutenant governor, hoping that Tressel would run for governor. And Tressel, a master of clock management in his days as Ohio's favorite football coach, as the coach of the Buckeyes, Tress changed his tune in the day ahead of the Ohio Republican Party meeting, no longer saying, oh, you know, I really haven't thought about running for governor, which is a kind of a curious thing to believe, seeing as how he's lieutenant governor. I know he's 72 years old, but a lot of people thought, well, DeWine appointed Tressel as lieutenant governor, so Tressel can succeed him as governor. And Tressel is always like, no, I'm not even thinking about it. I got a job to do. But then late last week, when the Ohio Republican Party started to make noise about endorsing Ramaswamy, Tressel always all of a sudden said, yes, I am considering it, which was, of course, meant to forestall those members of the Ohio Republican Party who have voting privileges to say, hold off a minute. We cannot not support the great Jim Tressel. Well, apparently, winning a national championship at Ohio State and being very successful against Michigan does not carry as much weight now that Urban Meyer and Ryan Day have done the same, except for the beating Michigan part under Ryan Day, because the final vote on whether to endorse Ramaswamy as governor out of the Ohio Republican Party meeting was 60-3. 60-3. So Mike DeWine, who did not want an endorsement to come out of that meeting, instead came away with a loss, much like Urban Meyer and Ryan Day often pin on the unfortunate team that's across the line of scrimmage from the Buckeyes. So Ramaswamy has all the wind at his back, becoming Ohio's next governor. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for hour number 1 of the Bruce Hooley Show. Does the Tribe play tonight? I'm sorry, the Guardians play tonight? If we do, I look forward to whoever the other team's best power hitter is being pitched to late in the game with first base open, so he can show us what Giancarlo Stanton twice and Kyle Schwarber once have already shown us, that you don't pitch to a power hitter whose run is meaningless. Unbelievable. Baseball's hard enough without making it hard on your own team. And I cut the Cavs a little more slack because they're very injured, and it's obvious Darius Garland can't move with the ball and is a liability out there, which is very sad. And I know he's sucking it up and trying his best to help us, but he's actually hurting us by being out there. And now Donovan Mitchell is hurt, and it's just not fun. You know how much I hate the state of Indiana, so not fun to watch us lose to the Indiana Pacers in their highlighter uniforms. But at least Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers are even with the Maple Leafs. So all is not lost in my sports life, which is not nearly as important to me as my real life. So have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.